It's the king. Who's going to stop that one from going to number one?
Hey, I don't know about that king stuff, but that's not what Norma says.
What is her word for you?
Well, it's not the king, I can tell you that.
She's the queen, though.
Absolutely, she's the queen.
George Strait is unquestionably one of the most beloved and accomplished icons in country music history. With countless chart-topping hits and a career that has spanned generations, he has solidified his legacy as a true maestro of the genre. However, what many may not know is that behind every great man, there is an equally great woman. In George's life, this woman is his true love. In today's video, we will share George Strait's heartfelt confession about the love of his life and the profound impact she has had on his legendary career. But before we reveal George's heartfelt confessions about the love of his life, it's important we understand the early chapters of his life that quietly composed the symphony of his love story. Hailing from the great state of Texas, George has achieved unparalleled success in the music industry. But what many may not know is the story behind the legend. In the early years of George Strait's life, the stage was set for a country song filled with heartache and longing. As the fourth grade came around, so did the news of his parents' divorce. Instead of a harmonious co-parenting arrangement, George and his brother were left in the care of their father, while their mother and sister departed, leaving behind a palpable absence that would linger for years to come. In a time when Norman Rockwell ideals were the norm, the departure of his mother was a bitter pill for young George to swallow. The emotional impact of her absence was evident, as her name was conspicuously absent from any mention in his press biographies. It was a wound that never quite healed, a void that remained unfilled. Raised by his father in an era where single fatherhood was a rarity, George experienced a different upbringing than most of his peers. His father, a pillar of strength and resilience, devoted himself wholeheartedly to the upbringing of George and his brother. The absence of their mother was keenly felt, but their father's unwavering dedication provided a sense of stability amidst the tumultuous upheaval of their family life. As George navigated the trials and tribulations of adolescence, he encountered a ray of light in the form of Norma Voss. Little did he know that their chance meeting would alter the course of his life in ways he could never have imagined. Norma would become not only the love of his life, but also a steadfast source of support throughout his storied career. Their love story began with uncertainty as George hesitated to pursue a relationship with Norma. It wasn't until he realized that he might miss the boat with his crush that he mustered the courage to ask her out. The two young lovers eventually eloped just before Christmas in 1971, embarking on a journey that would define their lives in ways they could never have foreseen. While their love story is one for the ages, it's important to understand how George found his calling in music. The path to becoming a country music legend was not without its twists and turns, and it all began with a young man trying to find his passion. The twists and turns of his musical journey. George's musical journey was anything but straightforward. It all started back in high school, where he was busy jamming out in a rock and roll garage band called the Stoics. The Beatles and other British invasion-era rock groups were his main squeeze at the time. The Beatles were big, George admitted. I listened to them a lot, and that whole bunch of groups that were popular then. Rock and roll was where it was at for George during his high school days, and he even dabbled in a few other rock bands. But then something funny happened. George's musical taste took a sharp left turn, and he found himself falling head over heels for country music. Hank Thompson, Lefty Frizzell, Merle Haggard, George Jones, Bob Wills, Hank Williams, and even Frank Sinatra started influencing his style. It was like he had a change of heart, or maybe a change of ears. He wasn't exactly tuning in to the country music radio, though. George was more into catching up on the news and the Farmer's Report. His introduction to country music came mostly from live performances, which, according to George, were happening in every nook and cranny of Texas. But despite this newfound love for country music, George had something else on his mind. It was as if music wasn't even a blip on his radar at the time. When George eloped with his high school sweetheart Norma Voss, It wasn't for the love of music or anything like that. George had two things on his mind: marrying the love of his life and enlisting in the United States Army as an infantryman. You see, music wasn't exactly at the top of George's priority list back then. In fact, it wasn't even on the list. He had other things on his mind, like serving his country and being with the woman he loved. But as fate would have it, the Army turned out to be the unexpected catalyst for his musical journey. In 1972, George found himself in the United States Army, serving in the 25th Infantry Division. Known as Tropic Lightning, the division was stationed in Hawaii, far from his native Texas. Perhaps it was the distance from home that made George homesick for the country tunes that had been the soundtrack of his youth. Despite the backdrop of the Vietnam War, the 25th Infantry Division remained in Hawaii to recover from previous skirmishes, including the Battle of Saigon. With some extra time on his hands, George picked up a guitar and started strumming away. It wasn't long before he realized that he had a knack for singing and a passion for country music. "I was in the service and for some reason, I got it in me that I could sing," George explained in a 1982 video. "I thought that I could possibly make a career out of singing. So I went and bought a guitar. I started learning songs and learned enough where I could get a band together and did that, and the last year I was in the service. That's what I did for the Army, was sing country music." And just like that, George Strait found himself serenading his fellow soldiers with his country tunes. He even formed a band called Rambling Country, making his first official mark in the music world. Little did he know that this unexpected detour would set him on a path to becoming one of the most iconic figures in country music. Over the next decade, George continued to make waves with his music, releasing one successful album after another. From Strait Country in 1981 to Straight from the Heart in 1982, he quickly solidified his status as a country music sensation. His song Fool-Heartedly even topped the charts as his first #1 country hit. And through it all, Norma stood by his side, supporting him every step of the way. A journey into the world of music. After being honorably discharged from the Army in 1975, George decided to pursue further education at Southwest Texas State University, now known as Texas State University. Despite his military background, George had a burning desire for knowledge, but instead of pursuing a music degree, he graduated with a degree in agriculture. Who would have thought that this cowboy would end up ruling the country music scene? Even after gaining fame, George remained connected to his alma mater. In 2006, he was presented with an honorary doctoral degree by Texas State University in a private ceremony. George is a loyal alumnus of Texas State. In 1985, he established an endowment fund for the development and operation of the Freeman Ranch for agricultural purposes, land and wildlife management, and scholarships. Apparently, behind that cowboy hat lies a heart of gold. After his college days, George dipped his toes into the band life with Rambling Country, before returning to Texas and joining another group, Stony Ridge, which was later renamed to Ace in the Whole Band. This band gained quite the local following, setting the stage for George's rise to stardom. But it wasn't all smooth sailing for George. He faced years of rejection and futile attempts at securing a record contract. However, in 1981, his luck changed when he signed a solo contract with MCA Records. His first album, Strait Country, featuring the hit single Unwound, was a game-changer for traditional country music, increasing its radio play and solidifying George's status as a country music icon. From there, George went on to produce a series of chart-topping albums, including Straight from the Heart, Does Fort Worth Ever Cross Your Mind?, Something Special, Oceanfront Property, and Beyond the Blue Neon. These albums were certified platinum or multi-platinum, cementing George's status as a force to be reckoned with in the music industry. In 1989, George was named the Country Music Association's Entertainer of the Year, a feat he repeated in 1990. But amidst all the career highs and lows, One thing remained constant: his partner in life, Norma Voss. And let's not forget about George's iconic cowboy hat. There was a time when his manager Woolsey had to stand firm against record company executives who wanted George to change his appearance. They suggested that he ditch his beloved cowboy hat and swap his jeans for fancier clothes. But George remained true to himself and his signature style, much to the delight of his fans. Now let's talk about the love of his life. A story of forever. The love between George and Norma is the kind that makes you believe in happily ever after. It all started back in high school, where George and Norma were just your typical teenage sweethearts. Norma, a small-town girl from Pearsall, caught the eye of George, but it wasn't until he mustered up the courage to ask her out that their love story truly began. Norma was the first girl I ever loved. We knew each other forever, growing up in a small town, George reminisced. I never really even thought anything about her, but then one day I asked her out, and we went on a date. We didn't see each other for a long time after that. Then one day I thought, I'm missing the boat here, and we started dating again. And so, the young lovebirds eloped and tied the knot in Mexico on December 4th, 1971. A move as bold and daring as any cowboys. To appease their families, they also exchanged vows in a church ceremony in their hometown of Pearsall, Texas. Shortly after their marriage, George joined the United States Army, and true to their love story, Norma followed him to his post in Hawaii. Together they embarked on a journey that would span over 5 decades and stand as a testament to enduring love. Fast forward to December 2021, and the couple celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary in style. George serenaded Norma with his iconic song "I Cross My Heart" during a concert in Las Vegas, regaling the crowd with tales of their whirlwind romance. So I was 19 years old, and I knew this girl, Norma, he shared with a twinkle in his eye. She was 17, really hot, so we fell in love. Their enduring love story has captured the hearts of fans and followers, who showered the couple with love and admiration, dubbing them the perfect couple and beautiful. George, known for his trademark crisp cotton shirts, creased Wranglers, and black felt hat, reflects on his life, career, and the decisions that have shaped them. Through the highs and lows of life, George and Norma have stood by each other's side, weathering every storm and celebrating every triumph together. Their love story is a reminder that true love knows no bounds, and that with the right person by your side, anything is possible. George, with a twinkle in his eye, speaks of Norma with such admiration and adoration that it's clear she holds the key to his heart. Norma and I are so blessed that we found each other, and we're able to do all of this together, experience this life together, to support each other through everything, good times and bad, George gushes. We love each other, and we still like each other. A lot. It's clear that their love has stood the test of time and only grows stronger with each passing day. But even a love as pure as theirs can face its trials. George and Norma were faced with a devastating loss that shook their world. On April 10, 2009, George's older brother John Byron Strait passed away unexpectedly at the age of 58. The news sent shockwaves through their lives, leaving them reeling from the sudden loss. John was found dead in his hotel room, with the medical examiner attributing his death to a combination of methadone toxicity and heart disease. It was a heartbreaking blow for George and Norma, but they leaned on each other for comfort and solace. But before the tragic passing of George's older brother John Byron Strait, they had already experienced the bitter taste of loss. Their love was tested, but they stood by each other, providing unwavering support and strength in the face of adversity. Unforgettable loss. George and Norma's love faced a tragic test when they welcomed their first child together, daughter Jennifer Lynn Strait, in 1972. Their joy was doubled when their son, George Bubba Strait Jr., was born in 1981. However, their world was shattered when Jennifer died in a devastating car accident in 1986, at the tender age of 13. The details of the accident were heart-wrenching. Jennifer was cruising around San Marcos, Texas, with 3 friends when the driver took a turn too quickly, causing the vehicle to flip onto its top. Sadly, Jennifer was pronounced dead on the scene. As a successful country star at the time, George Strait found solace in throwing himself into his work. He admitted, "I just kind of shut down. I just didn't feel like talking about it, so I quit doing interviews." The famously stoic musician poured his emotions into his music, with many believing that songs like Baby Blue were a tribute to his late daughter, although Strait never confirmed or denied this. In the late 1980s and 1990s, Strait remained closed off about Jennifer's passing. However, the King of Country eventually opened up about his emotional connection to his single, "You'll Be There," while promoting his 2005 record. As we all know, the best songs have the power to adapt their meanings to reflect the unique experiences of each listener. And the best artists have the ability to effortlessly convey these ideas, memories, and emotions. George Strait's own tragic history adds a whole new layer of meaning to Corey Mayo's lyrics in "You'll Be There," as it becomes a poignant expression of a grieving father reaching out to his daughter in the afterlife. In a revealing 2005 interview with USA Today, Strait confessed that the song holds a special significance for him, making him think of Jennifer. "I'm a religious person," he explained. "I honestly believe we will see each other in heaven someday. I wanted to do the song badly. The writer, Corey Mayo, held that song out because he knew I wanted to do it, and he waited until I had the chance. It was kind of him to do that. Through it all, George and Norma's love has endured, weathering the storms of life with grace and resilience." Meet the Strait family. When you think of the Strait family, what comes to mind? Rodeos, music, and a whole lot of heart. This tight-knit clan is as Texan as they come, with a deep love for roping, music, and giving back to their community. Let's start with the patriarch, George. Known for his smooth voice and classic country hits, George Strait is also a master roper. The man can wrangle a steer with the best of them. Roping has been a beloved pastime for the Strait family for generations, and George is no exception. He honed his skills by practicing on his own, and in 1983, he got his big break at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, a true cowboy with talent. But George's love for roping isn't the only thing that runs in the family. His son Bubba has followed in his father's footsteps as a competitive rodeo cowboy and a talented songwriter. In fact, the two have even collaborated on some music together. George has said that working with Bubba has been a blessing, watching him grow and blossom as a songwriter. It's clear that talent runs deep in the Strait genes. Now, let's talk about the matriarch of the family, Norma. Together with George, she co-founded the Jennifer Strait Memorial Foundation in 1986. This foundation is dedicated to promoting charitable causes for children and supporting various nonprofit organizations. It's clear that giving back is a core value for the Strait family, and they have made a lasting impact on their community through their philanthropy. The foundation is named in honor of their late daughter, Jennifer. George has shared heartfelt memories of Jennifer, describing her as having a special love for her brother Bubba. Their bond was unbreakable, and it's clear that she continues to be a guiding presence in their lives. On Father's Day 2022, George shared a throwback photo on Instagram of himself, Norma, Jennifer, and Bubba. It's clear that family is at the heart of everything for the Straits, and their love for each other shines through in everything they do. George Strait, the legendary country music icon, may have spent much of his time on tour for his music career, but back at home, his family was holding down the fort. While George was out there crooning and strumming his guitar, Norma, his devoted wife, was busy raising their son, Bubba. Fast forward to today, and Bubba is all grown up and has started a family of his own. He tied the knot with his lovely wife Tamara, and together they have brought two adorable little Straits into the world. First up, we have George Harvey Strait III, who made his grand entrance in 2012, followed by the delightful Jillian Louise Strait, who joined the family in 2016. Now, let's dive into some of his most epic achievements that have solidified his status as a country music legend. A legacy of achievement. First off, let's talk numbers. George has been in the game for over 30 years, and during that time he's racked up a mind-blowing 61 #1 songs on all country charts. We're talking about charts like Media Base 24/7, the former Radio and Records chart, and the now-defunct Gavin Report chart. Oh, and did we mention that he has more #1 hits than any other artist in a single genre? George is the reigning king of the country music charts. This man has a whopping 44 Billboard country #1 hits under his belt. In fact, it's 4 more than the legendary Conway Twitty's total, and that even includes several duets with the iconic Loretta Lynn. George is in a league of his own when it comes to ruling the country music airwaves. And if you thought that was impressive, hold on to your cowboy hats because there's more. George is the first artist in the history of Billboard to have at least one single enter the top 10 of a Billboard chart for 30 consecutive years. Every single one of his top 10 singles has graced that chart, solidifying his status as a true country music icon. Now let's talk sales. George has sold over 68 million records in the United States alone. 68 million. And as if that wasn't enough, his certifications from the RIAA include 13 multi-platinum, 33 platinum, and 38 gold albums. Who else can boast those kinds of numbers? It's no wonder he's earned the title of a living legend in the world of country music. But wait, there's more to George than just his chart-topping hits and record-breaking sales. He's also dabbled in the world of acting. George has graced the silver screen in several films, showing off his talents beyond just music. From a bit part in The Soldier in 1982 to taking on the lead role in Pure Country in 1992, George has proven that he's more than just a one-trick pony. Speaking of Pure Country, let's dive into that for a moment. Not only did George star in the film as Dusty Chandler, a famous country singer who strays too far from his roots, but he also had some conditions for the film. You see, the script included a romantic storyline with a local girl, but George wasn't too keen on explicit kissing scenes. So what did he do? He and his co-star Isabel Glasser opted to show affection through nonverbal gestures instead. Now that's what we call sticking to your principles, while still delivering a killer performance. And let's not forget the impact Pure Country had on George's career. The film contributed significantly to his fame and solidified his status as not just a country music superstar, but also a bona fide movie star. George was truly at the top of his game, conquering both the music and film industries with ease. In 2006, George received one of the highest honors in country music when he was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. It was a well-deserved accolade for a man who had spent decades shaping and defining the genre, with his incredible talent and unwavering dedication to his craft. Celebrating his 30th year in the business, he dropped the album It Just Comes Natural, proving that he's still got it. With 15 new songs, including some co-written by his buddy Dean Dillon, the album wowed critics and fans alike, earning George some well-deserved praise. Also in 2009, the Academy of Country Music crowned him the best artist of the entire decade. Even Billboard couldn't resist giving him some love, naming him the best country artist of the past 25 years in 2010. In 2011, he dropped Here for a Good Time, and 2 songs from the album shot straight to #1. With a total of 59 chart toppers under his belt, George Strait continues to prove that he's the reigning champ of country music. His ultimate pillar of strength. Norma's support. When it comes to legendary country music, George Strait is a name that resonates through the ages. But behind every great man, there's an even greater woman, and in George's case, that woman is none other than his supportive wife, Norma. Let's take a moment to shine the spotlight on the woman who has been the backbone of George's extraordinary career. Norma has been by George's side for over 4 decades, and her support has been nothing short of remarkable. It's not just about being married for a long time. It's about being the wind beneath George's wings. And Norma has certainly been that, and more. While she may prefer to stay out of the limelight, Norma made a surprise appearance in the music video for George's song Código in 2019. Filmed in Mexico, the video captured Norma toasting with friends and dancing alongside the famed country singer. It was a rare glimpse into their loving relationship and Norma's unwavering support for George's career. George has never shied away from expressing his love and appreciation for Norma. He often takes to Instagram to share heartfelt moments with his Valentine, including a sweet photo on Valentine's Day in 2020. Norma has also been a constant presence by George's side at award shows, such as the 1989 CMA Awards, where he clinched the Entertainer of the Year title. In 2021, George treated fans to a throwback photo on Instagram, showcasing a memorable moment when he and Norma met former President George H.W. Bush in the White House to celebrate President's Day. It's clear that Norma has been an integral part of George's journey, both personally and professionally. Norma's dedication to her family is truly commendable. She was a devoted stay-at-home mom until their son, Bubba, started college at Texas A&M University. After that, she joined George on the road, standing by his side until his retirement from touring. "We do almost everything together," George once said, highlighting the inseparable bond they share. Norma's support for George goes beyond just being a loving wife. There was a pivotal moment when she played a crucial role in his career. She stopped George from making a decision that could have altered the course of his musical journey. Who knows where George would be today if Norma hadn't intervened? In the 1970s, George Strait was just a young buck trying to make it in the music industry with his band, the ace in the whole band. While George was juggling college, he spotted a flyer on campus from the band, on the lookout for a fresh new vocalist. George jumped on that opportunity like a cowboy on a wild stallion, and before you knew it, he was leading the pack as the frontman of the newly dubbed ace in the whole band. They started out jamming at honky-tonks and bars all over South and Central Texas, even venturing as far as Huntsville and Houston. The local scene enjoyed their sound, and they even scored some gigs opening for big-time acts like the Texas Playboys. They even got to cut a few singles, but unfortunately, those tunes didn't quite hit the big time, and George still had to wrangle cattle during the day to make ends meet. With no real connections in the music biz, George found a friend, Irv Woolsey, who ran one of the joints where the band played. Irv had some serious pull in Nashville and managed to wrangle some big shots to come check out George and his crew. They enjoyed the band but weren't sure how to sell that Western swing sound to the masses, so they split without a deal. After getting shut down by every label in Nashville, George was ready to hang up his hat and call it quits. He even entertained the idea of designing cattle pens for a living. But just when he was ready to call it quits, his better half convinced him to give music one last shot. Lo and behold, major label MCA swooped in and signed him to a record deal in 1981. They started with just one song, and the rest, as they say, is history. George Strait went on to become a legend in country music, racking up hit after hit, and earning himself a spot in the Hall of Fame. Legacy. The legend today. George Strait didn't just make music, he embodied it. He was like a fine wine, getting better with age, and leaving a lasting impression on the world of country music. Back in the early 2000s, George was on top of the world. His album Straight Out of the Box became a country classic and catapulted him into stardom. The man was unstoppable, and his career exploded like fireworks on the 4th of July. Even when he came down from that musical high, George didn't skip a beat. His self-titled album received rave reviews, proving that he was more than just a one-hit wonder. Sure, the singles didn't reach the same heights as his previous release, but that didn't stop him from shining like a Texas star. Then came Honky Tonkville, and no one could deny that George was living that cowboy lifestyle to the fullest. His southern charm and undeniable talent sustained his career for years, and he continued to rack up accolades like they were going out of style. Rumors of George's demise have circulated over the years, but time and time again, he has proven that he is very much alive and kicking. In 2020, he quashed speculation about his potential death with an Instagram post that oozed with iconic flair. Accompanied by the lyrics from one of his own songs, George reassured his fans that he was alive and well in Tennessee. And to drive the point home, he shared a lighthearted meme that left no room for doubt. As George continues to enjoy the fruits of his labor, it's clear that his influence on country music is nothing short of monumental. From his iconic hits in the late 1980s and early 1990s to his enduring legacy, George's impact on the genre is undeniable. In fact, his influence can be seen in the likes of Alan Jackson and Garth Brooks, who have both donned cowboy hats in homage to the man himself. It's safe to say that George's mark on country music will be felt for generations to come. Thanks for watching. For a more thrilling story, click now on the next video that pops up on your screen.